guys, we're going to start, and as people start coming in, you're just going to let them come on in and grab some worksheets. I am Amy Pepper. I'm a career consultant right across the hallway in the Department of Career and Testing Services, as is Haley Tyson. I'm our assistant director. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about LinkedIn and how to use that to your benefit when you're trying to build a professional network. You're trying to let employers know who you are and what skills you have. So to start off with, how many of you have a LinkedIn? How many of you actively use your LinkedIn? What of you? How many of you don't know what LinkedIn is, but you've heard about LinkedIn and you're really kind of wondering what all this LinkedIn stuff about? Okay. Well, this video will kind of give you an overview about, for those of you that don't know, what LinkedIn is, how it can benefit you, and insight into a few of the tools that LinkedIn offers.
If you're watching this, chances are good you want to get a job. You want to go from student to rising star. You want to avoid eating the same meal over and over and over again. Good news, you're in the right place. That's right, LinkedIn. It's not just for top executives. It's not just for old people with heavy briefcases. It's for you. Because you know what the recruiters are looking for day and night. It's your resume that never sleeps. It's your flashy. They're good, you want to get a job. You want to go from student to rising star. And you're watching this, chances are good you want to get a job. You want to go from student to rising star. And you want to avoid eating the same meal over and over and over again. Good news, you're in the right place. That's right, LinkedIn. It's not just for top executives. It's not just for old people with heavy briefcases. It's for you, and it's the perfect place for you to start your professional story. Say you want to get a job in New York City. You've never been there before, but that's okay because you have LinkedIn on your side. You start by creating your profile. You give it love because you know what your recruiters are looking for day and night. It's your resume that never sleeps. It's your flashing neon sign that says, hire me, for the love of all that is good in this world, hire me. Then you start making connections. Alumni working in New York? Yes. Recruiters at top companies in New York? Yes. Your mom's best friend? Yes. You start imagining whose shoes you want to walk in. You think, wow, this is a lot of deep stuff to consider. You shake yourself out of it and start searching for jobs. Whoa, that's a lot of jobs for students. Time to get down to business. You start to tailor your profile. You start applying. You feel empowered and control, like you should be CEO. That gives you an idea. You look up all the CEOs of all the companies you want to work at. You see one of them went to your university. Then it hits you. You see a clear path from campus to career. You feel like you can see the future. You wonder if you're psychic. Should you start a hotline? No, back to plan A. You keep tailoring and connecting and applying, and before you know it, you start getting responses. First a few, then more, then an interview, and then you're hired. And that's when the real learning begins.
Okay, so you guys know a little bit more about LinkedIn and what it can offer you, and Haley is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, so LinkedIn, basically, these are the 5 areas that we're going to cover today. We're going to have a discussion over your profile. So basically talking about format features, really differentiating between, LinkedIn and your Facebook account that you may have, or your Twitter account, really making that distinction, as well as giving you some helpful tips along the way. Building connections, really understanding how to network and how to develop those relationships on LinkedIn, because that's the beauty of LinkedIn. It's all about developing and creating those relationships. And so we're going to talk about that. Some additional tools that are on LinkedIn, tools that you may be using LinkedIn currently and you're not aware of these tools, of the alumni features, how to search for jobs, following companies, things like that, how you can utilize those tools to the best of your abilities. And then also we'll go over a brief summary at the end. And so, moving forward into another short video clip here. This one we have to actually press play on.
Here's how to make your profile great. Number 1, pick a professional picture. Not just any picture. No, not that one. More like these. Yes, that's the one. Number 2, write a good headline. Just tell us who you are and what you want to do in 120 characters or less. Yeah, like that. Remember, nothing too personal, nothing too clever. Number 3, Tell us about your education. What's your major? What classes did you take? What skills did you develop? C++? Art history? Portuguese history? Quantum thermodynamics? Yes, put those. Number 4, list your experience. Give us your organizations, your achievements, your honors. President of the International Club? Yes. Volunteered building houses? Yes. Invented a cat toy? Yeah, sure, that counts. Number 5, get recommendations. Prove you've got what it takes. Get managers, mentors, and professors to post something that says, this person is smart, hardworking, good-natured, and well-rounded, or something like that. And then you're done. You shout, this is me! You do a celebration dance. You feel good. You stand out. You know you're on your way, because there are jobs to be found and recruiters looking to find you as you watch this. That's right now, this very second. What are you waiting for? Go, find, be found.
So that's a nice segue into what our discussion topics are over. So as I said, number 1, talking about your photo. How many of you actually have a photo on your LinkedIn? Okay. Is the photo of your face? Yes? Okay. I've seen a couple of LinkedIn profiles. I critique them in my office, and for different majors, they like to surprise me with maybe, if they're a geology major, putting some rocks as their profile picture. If they're an English student, maybe having some type of literature, quote as of their picture. What we're looking for here is a professional photo, a headshot, okay? Something that represents you, clear front-angled shots, avoiding background distraction. So I do have a couple of examples here, and of course avoiding selfies. We want someone else to take your picture. Okay, so the first one's over here. This is our lovely Giselle in our office, our coordinator of testing services. Nice, clear angle. You can see her complete face. This one too, and this one was actually, you can tell it's not professionally done. It was probably done in her office, but still a nice shot of her face there. This student right here, and I think that you can't see so much on the screen, but actually it's like he's at a site. It looks like he's probably an engineering student or maybe a geology student, and he was actually taking a picture at his work location. Obviously, you can't really see him. He's darkened out. There's this massive distraction in the background. So these are pictures that we're trying to avoid. Another picture here, if you can kind of see this. So there's really good qualities about this picture. She's dressed very professionally. However, she's standing in a tree. So there's that background distraction as well. And then Jacob, our passport coordinator here, has a nice clear shot. So this kind of gives you some examples of things that you should have on your profile picture, those types of qualities, and then things that you should try to avoid. So definitely have someone else take the picture of you if you're able to get a professional headshot. Look into that as well. But definitely you want your face to be seen, okay? A clear shot of your face. Does anybody have any questions about this? No? Okay. Very nice. All right, so now we're moving to your headline. So here is where you can take your laptops out or your tablets to go ahead and start working, or you've been given a worksheet that you can use during this exercise. So your headline can have 120 characters or less. It's going to be relevant to your course of study or career goals. So basically it's going to be right underneath your name, and it's describing who you are. On mine it says Assistant Director of Department of Career and Testing Services. That's how I want to be recognized. That's my title. It also helps whenever there's different types of jobs that pop up. They're putting me in those types of fields. So it works kind of like an ETS, kind of those tracker systems as well, where it shows, this is the headline right here, it shows this is my area of expertise and this is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in career services and this is my role, okay? So how are you going to be portrayed in that headline? So I want you to take a few seconds and think about that. You have to think you only have 120 characters to express that, so you can jot something down on that worksheet just to kind of give you an idea of what you could use in that area. On Amy's, it actually has career consultant at Lamar University in hers. And so she's identifying herself with, yes, she works in higher ed, and then this is her role. Okay, once again, it's identifying herself. This is her area of expertise, and this is where she works. Okay. So just take a few seconds to think about your headline. Jot a few notes about that. How would you like to be portrayed in your headline? Sorry, I gotta switch on and off here. Can you allow it? All right, so everybody has a nice headline, right? Identifying who you are, what you want employers to see. That's what we're looking for in those headlines. Okay, so your summary. This is basically the body of your LinkedIn profile. So if you have your About Me section on your Facebook, this is what the summary is here. What we're looking for is keywords that are going to, once again, be identified in those tracker systems. Whenever it's going through these keywords, it's going to pick up some of those things that employers are going to be looking for in their candidates, and can identify you into specific jobs that you may be interested in. So it's really important to make sure that you're using specific keywords that are relevant to your course of study or relative to your interests, okay, in this area. Some tips, right from a first-person standpoint, okay? Use some type of a format, whether you're going to make it rich with bullets or you're going to create it in paragraphs. Use a consistent format, okay? Use words specific to your area of interest in your study, as I said before. All right, so I want you to take a few minutes to write your summary out, okay? This is attracting your prospects. So your profile needs to explain what you can do for a company, how your skills or services can improve the company or organization. So all of that information can be included into that summary, okay? It's really important that you provide extensive detail in this area. One of the key things about LinkedIn, I've had students that have come into my office and have said that employers have searched for them, searched for specific criteria, and it populated their names, and they've actually gotten positions from their LinkedIn profile. But it's because they have those keywords that those employers were looking for, okay? So make sure that you're explaining what you can do for a company in this area as well. So that goes along with what are your interests, what are your passions, what are you hoping to gain from, from your career interests, as well as what can you do to benefit specific companies with what you've done already. So it does function in the same capacity as a resume does. Okay, it does have that same type of capacity. You actually can export your LinkedIn profile out, and it looks similar to like a curriculum vitae does. So a very extensive resume. Okay. So once again, it's just very important to make sure that you're highlighting some really key information there. So take a few minutes to do that. If you're on your laptop, go ahead and go through that. I'm sorry. I was just getting really excited. That's cool. I'll just take it. All right, so everybody's got some information to put in their summary. So once again, think about the industry that you want to work in, what are your courses of study, your career interests, and make sure you're putting all that information in your summary. Specialties that you might have.
And here are our summaries, just to kind of give you guys an
Research
idea.
that you've done.
So this is Haley's summary. And she talks about what her passion is in working with students, what she does. So major of study selection, career exploration and development, what she says, the trends that she stays current in terms of resume critiques and career development needs. Let's see. She also includes what she's working on professionally. So you can include all of those things in your summary. In my summary, I say how long I've worked in career services. I also say a little bit more about what my job entails. And I know you can find that in the experience, but this is just kind of a brief overview of what I do. So if somebody's searching for, let's say, job search strategies or career development and exploration, that would be on the DTS system. And they might contact me if they need help in those areas.
All right, so we're good? We can move on? Okay.
All right. So moving on to service and other information that you can add to your profile. If you're extremely outgoing or you just like to stay involved, you like to keep yourself busy, you are in 5 different organizations, you volunteer, you have leadership roles within those organizations that you're a part of. These are all things that you can add to that organizations in the, I think it's a volunteer experience and causes section in your LinkedIn resume or your LinkedIn profile. Be sure to highlight leadership roles. If you were president of an organization, what happened during your time as president? You can also include projects. So if your group does a fundraising project for United Way every year, that's something great to add. Include how much you fundraised, how many people are involved, if you took a leadership role, or if you were just participating in that event. You can also include courses. Don't include all of your courses. Okay? If you're a business manager, you don't want to include English or possibly just college algebra. You want to include those but major specific courses instead of including everything. If you have certifications, and I don't mean a CPR certification unless you're a health or in kinesiology major, that's something great that you want to include. If you're a business major or a fine arts and communications major, a CPR certification is as important. For example, if you're a finance major and you take the series exams, something great to include. If you're an accounting major and you take the CPA exam, that's something great to include. Same thing with education majors. I would include the Texas exam if I took any of those. So those are some things that you want to think of to include. So take a moment now to write those down or type those into LinkedIn.
So a really cool feature on LinkedIn as well, as Amy said, whenever you're talking about your projects and your organizations, but mainly your projects, you can also link up that information with your colleagues who helped you work on that project. So if me and Amy worked on something, I could actually link her to that so it shows up on her LinkedIn account as well. So it's just another way to help you network and branch out into developing those relationships. So be thinking about some of those key projects that you took part in whenever you're creating your account and be thinking about who assisted you in that process.
You can also include videos. So let's say, for instance, Taylor, I want to include this to our LinkedIn. So we could connect with each other on LinkedIn. We could upload this video to LinkedIn so that if anyone was interested, they can watch it and say, Amy and Haley have presentation experience and presentation skills. So that's something else to think about if you've done anything like that for an organization or even for a class, if it was an individual or a team project. Any questions about that? All right, recommendations. So LinkedIn has this really neat thing where you can ask people to recommend you. And that could be anybody, right? That could be your professor that you spent hours and hours and hours and hours upon in their office trying to figure out what you need to do to, if you have a question on a project or a question on an assignment. They know a little bit about you, right? They can give a great recommendation. An advisor. If, say you're, again, in an organization and your faculty advisor or your staff advisor, if you work a lot with them, that's also someone else that can give you a recommendation. Employers. So you work at Burger King. Your manager can give you a recommendation on LinkedIn. So anybody that you work with, be that in an employment situation or be that in a team-oriented situation at work, at school, Group members and teamwork, again, at school. Anyone in an organization like you. So, a few tips on that. Give in kind. So if I ask Kaylee to give me a recommendation, she, in turn, would like me to give her a recommendation. So you just want to be very fair and equitable with those. Also, ask your professor's advice. If you want to know a little bit more about maybe what you should add to your LinkedIn, ask your professor. They might say, oh, well, in my class she did this project, and I don't know what to that project on there, and you're looking to go into this field, and that relates. And also, tell your classmates about LinkedIn, because if you're trying to get them to give you a recommendation, or if you're, for instance, trying to link them to a particular project that you worked on together, and they're not on LinkedIn, that's maybe a little bit difficult to do, right? So the more people that you tell about LinkedIn, the more people that you give tips on how to use LinkedIn now that you guys are learning about it, it'll assist you as well. So take a moment now to maybe kind of think about or write down some people that you might want to connect with or ask for recommendations.
Can you show where is that exactly in the recommendation section?
Okay, I'll show you 2 points here. Okay, at the bottom, here are where my recommendations show up. And these areas on your LinkedIn page can be moved around in the order that you want to present it. Now, if I were to give one or ask someone for one, I would actually go here to send a message, and I could find references.
Let's see.
You're logged in? Okay. All right. Drop down box here. Oops. Okay, ask to be recommended. Right next to the edit profile feature, there's that little drop down area. And then you can ask to be recommended. It's going to pop up with some fields here. What do you want to be recommended for? It's going to either let you choose through your job titles as well as what the school that you're in. What do you want to ask for? Who do you want to ask, excuse me? And this is where you actually can type in those recipients if you would like to see that. And then you can tailor, it gives you kind of a standard message, but you can tailor that message as well, and then you can send it off.
So they need to have a LinkedIn account as well. You can't get an external referral or recommendation.
Correct.
Kind of like a reference on your resume, but your reference is actually talking about you versus them just being listed with their contact information. So moving on. So you want to find out a little bit more about how you're viewed on the internet, right? So how many of you have Googled yourself? Did you find anything interesting when you Googled yourself? Christine, what did you find?
I have a couple articles that Lamar wrote and come up with a Google.
That's really neat to find, isn't it? Really neat to find. Some people find out stuff about them that they did not know was out there. So when you Google yourself, everything comes up. So Facebook, employers do Google you. So on your Facebook, if you have things that you would not want your mother to see on Facebook, kind of keep that same advice for employers. You don't want crazy pictures, partying pictures, you with a red Solo cup. You want to be very careful with what you put out on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media sites. On LinkedIn, you want to actively use it. Don't just have a LinkedIn account, never update it, just let it sit there. It's 2 years out of date, and you've done so much more in that length of time. Participate in discussions, join groups. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then also actively use those organizations that you're a member of. Use them on LinkedIn. Connect with those people in those groups. Create discussions. Talk to those people. You're expanding your network. You want to, not just when you're posting in discussion boards, just say something for the sake of saying something. Kind of like how in Blackboard, your professor will make you log into Blackboard and possibly answer some discussion questions. Same thing on LinkedIn. You want those responses to be thoughtful, organized, and professional. Okay, and so that makes your profile easier for employers to search and see. Yes.
Is there a way to link, like if you have, say, a good article online, is there a way to link it to your LinkedIn?
Mm-hmm.
In my areas, I've uploaded different types of projects, and I think it works the same way here, where you can actually upload or attach articles, their links. So let me go back to Amy since she's on here. If I press edit, and what does that actually give me? Add link, upload file. So that's where you can add those links in there. So, and those features will be present on any of these headers. So add link, upload file. So it just depends on the area that you want to place it in. Okay.
Any other questions about that?
Okay. All right. So we have some good information that we're generating on our LinkedIn account. We're creating some good information, right? So what are some things that we avoid? Well, you would avoid the same type of information that you would present on an application or a resume. Anything that's going to be out of date or misleading, of course, you're going to want to avoid that. Any negative information, or if you're providing little or no information at all, that also makes a statement as well. Okay, you know, how vested are you in trying to find employment? How vested are you in your professionalism? All that comes across as well. So be considering that type of information whenever you're creating your LinkedIn account. So of course you want to think about positive, up-to-date information that's relative to your course of study, your interests, your career goals and aspirations. So that's the type of information that we want to put out there. Okay, positive, up-to-date information. Okay. Professionalism. So your first impression counts. We've talked about a couple of things here. Your professional photo, making sure that it's a clear shot of your face. In the professional photo, if you can see from your chest up, you're wearing some type of professional attire here. Your face is clear and visible. Number 2, ensure content is appropriate to your goals. So I know that I've reiterated that throughout, making sure that it's focused on your career interests, your passions, your specialties, any type of relevant information that's going to help you pull be pulled up on the employer search. So be thinking about how employers are trying to track candidates, how they're trying to locate candidates, and what is that key information that they're looking for in those sites. Edit you check your spelling and grammar. So this goes back to something similar to a resume. You know, when an employer is reading through your information, if there's a significant amount of grammatical errors, if there's misspellings, that also comes across in a specific way as well. Once again, how vested are you in your career and your career goals and your aspirations, and are you really looking for employment? That all is going to come across. Okay, and make sure that you're checking your details. Go through there, make sure that you're keeping it up to date. If you've got a project that you did last week, you haven't included that information, make sure you're putting that on there. Any research that you're doing, projects, so you're checking those details and make sure that it's up-to-date, relevant information. And then, again, just checking your details over to make sure that it's capturing what you want to say about yourself and how you want to be presented to an employer. Okay.
So when you're building connections and trying to build your network, where do you start? right? You can start with friends, right? Your family, professors, advisors, so anybody that you more or less look up to, anybody that knows you very well. You can also look at your supervisor. So if you're working, let's say at Burger King, your manager, your colleagues that you work with, alumni, and university staff. So Haley and I, right? Okay. And then professional organizations are really important as well. So when you're trying to build your network, think of really everybody that you know. Who do you know? Who do you see often? Who do you work with on a regular basis? Think about all those things when you're trying to figure out who on earth do I connect with? Again, if they don't have a LinkedIn profile, invite them to LinkedIn. Let them know why LinkedIn is important. Okay. So when you're building your profile, you have personal settings that you can set on LinkedIn. So you can either have an open network or a closed network. So if you have an open network, anybody that wants to connect with you, you just let them come on through. That's fine. Whether you know them or not, you're just looking to build your network. And whether you know them or not, really doesn't matter to you. Maybe if you're looking to see what industries people are in or what their job duties are. That's a great way to do that. Or a closed network. So unless I know you, I'm not going to accept your connection on LinkedIn. So it just depends on how open you are in terms of not necessarily opportunities, but learning. Or if you just really want people who know you to connect with you. Okay. So when you're trying to connect with people on LinkedIn, here are just a few tips. So don't cold contact somebody. If I don't know you and you're sending me a message on LinkedIn, I'm not really sure why you're contacting me. So avoid trying to do that. If you don't know them and you're more of a closed network person, then avoid doing that to somebody else. On LinkedIn, it'll tell you that you have a first connection, a second connection, or a third connection. A first connection is somebody that you know, that you're connected with on LinkedIn. A second connection is someone that you're connected with is connected with on LinkedIn. And a third connection is someone that you have no connections with at all, right? So if you're trying to contact a third connection, you might want to have someone else introduce you to that person. Okay? Try indirect avenues first. So what do I mean by that? Reaching out to the Lamar alumni page, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Start conversations. So there's discussion questions, or discussion boards, and discussion posts that I was talking about a little bit earlier. Start doing those. Get involved in those. If you find a news article on LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to post a comment or maybe create a discussion on a group that you're a part of. And again, here, asking contacting your network to introduce you to one of their contacts. Again, just don't contact them. And then also use professional etiquette and proper language. I can't tell you how many students and professionals that I've had contact me on LinkedIn, and it's completely unprofessional. Words aren't spelled correctly. I have a third connection trying to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I have no idea who they are. All I know is that they're maybe connected with 48 of my connections, right? So just a few tips on that.
All right, so here's some important tools. I know I had mentioned talking to you a little bit about the groups that you can follow, but some additional tools here, some important tools for networking, are of course your contacts, looking at the first and second degree and third degree contacts. If there's something specific, someone specific that you're looking for, trying to find those introductions. So of course, knowing who your contacts are is going to be very important. So making sure that you're utilizing your contacts to the fullest. There's an alumni feature. How many of you are familiar with the alumni feature? No? Okay. We'll show you that. Let's go ahead and move into that area. All right, so basically, LinkedIn has a way to filter the alumni that you can get into contact with. Okay. Let's see. So network, can you see that here? How I drop down underneath network here, and then it says find alumni. So a really neat feature here. So basically it's going to give me a breakdown of the people who've attended 2014, 2015. Of course I can go in there and let's adjust that. Let me go down to 2000. So people who've attended Lamar from the past 15 years, 2000 to 2015, all right? So it's giving me where they live, United States, here's the breakdown. And then here's, of course, even further breakdown. Of course, it gives you the Texas area because that's where we're located, and then even breaks it down a little bit further after that, right? So where do they work? So maybe you're really interested in, working at, I'll just pick anywhere, Jacobs, okay? Then it shows you the breakdown of what the actual alumni do. What are they doing in this area at Jacobs? So they're either in engineering, they're in project management, they're in finance, operations, and purchasing. Okay, so here, I even want to break it down further and look at the individuals who work in finance. Okay, so then it's even going to break it down further for me. There's one of them that are in Houston, and then one individual that's in Beaumont. Okay, so then I can scroll down to the bottom, and it's going to actually show me the students and alumni that fall into this area. So you really can break it down significantly. And there you go. I have a first contact with this person, and so if I wanted to get into one of these areas, I could actually contact him and say, do you have any tips on, being hired at your place of employment? Who is the best contact for me to get more information with that? Okay? So definitely has some key features here for you. And if, like I said, you can narrow it down by year, you can narrow it down by location. If I wanted to know the individuals that, I'm moving back here, that maybe were in the Houston area. Okay. Narrow it down to 345 people in the Houston area here, where they work at. Maybe I'm looking into getting into higher ed in Houston, and so I see, okay, Lone Star College. They're all in education, and basically it's going to bring me up to who these connections are. Okay. So once again, it's just a way for you to build those connections and ask for those types of introductions. Okay. So that's for the alumni. Does anybody have any questions about that and how that? Yeah.
Is this section available for regular accounts?
I have a regular account. I don't pay for my account, so yes. Any other questions? No? Okay. Of course, when we're looking at those connections, you're going to be looking at, what is the industry or the field of study that they're in to help you make those connections, the location, if that's of interest to you, and of course, their job responsibilities. Okay. There's also a jobs feature on here. Does anyone utilize that? The jobs? Okay, you do? Anybody? Anyone else? No? Okay. So the jobs feature, it shows you possible jobs that you could be interested in. Referrals from contacts can be done here. You can also save your searches, and you can do advanced searches as well. So I'm going to pull that up. I like to kind of show you, how that looks, what you're actually looking for on that website. All right. So here we are at jobs. This is Amy's account. We click on jobs. If I search for jobs here, and I put, let's do something, accounting here. Okay, of course it's going to populate similar to those big job boards do, okay? So it's going to show operator pipeline, that really wasn't accounting, but financial advisor associate. I can actually click on that. It shows me 23 people in my network that's connected to this. It shows you in areas where you can apply on the company website. You can save it. And actually can show you those things that you've saved. Okay? This side here. Go to mine. Well, you are able to save the different job searches that you look for. and you're able to put in the information, the job title, keywords, or company names. You can actually tag jobs that you might be interested in, receive email alerts from them. Okay. And then here at the bottom, that's where those keywords come in. So it's automatically populated some jobs that Amy may be interested in based on some of the skill sets that she put in there, the information that she included in her summary, as well as her job title. So it obviously picks up that information through that tracking system. Okay. And then if you scroll down even further, it shows you where you actually can discover jobs in your network. Okay, so these are areas that have that individuals she's actually connected to that have job openings in their organization. Okay. You can drop down and do your advanced search where you're selecting specific industries, what are the job functions, and then also salary information, but that's a paid area. If you want to take it one step further and pay for that, you can see that information. So it's just what's relevant to you in your search, what's going to be important. Okay. Any questions about jobs? Interest, companies, and groups. So basically another tool that you can use are whenever you're looking for companies specifically or if you're following groups. So there are these features that are tools on there. Once again, it's helping you identify jobs that you're interested in, identify those connections. But you are able to follow companies. That will help you with that tracking system for those areas that you're interested in, as well as groups. Following specific groups, whether it's the alumni group, whether it's maybe a group of a company that maybe it's Baker Hughes, you're interested in working for them and you're following that type of company and following some of their boards that's identified in some of the groups that they have. So those things are also just going to be important for the job search. So once again, it's going to be relevant to what you're currently searching for and your interests and your needs.
All right, so here are just a few more tips to kind of help you round out your profile and make sure that you're prepared for employment. So check your status. On LinkedIn, it'll tell you if your profile is at 50%, if it's at 10%, or if it's at 100%. Right now I'm at 90, so I still have a few more things to add. So your goal, you want to make it to be 100%. So you want to kind of fill in all the fields that you can and include those. You want a picture, right? You want to have a picture. Again, we talked about a picture. Just yourself, front angle, professional picture. It doesn't have to be one that's taken by a professional photographer, but a picture with a brief, concise heading. So 120 characters or less. A summary or an elevator speech. So if you wrote your summary down, and an elevator speech is something that you can say on an elevator with the CEO. So you're going for an interview. And the CEO of the company that you're interviewing for just happens to be on the elevator with you. And so when you want to tell him something in 30 seconds or less, right? Think about an elevator, right? How fast can you say it? It's great to use at career fairs. We have one coming up on Thursday from 10 to 12 from the McDonald Gym, Spring Career Fair. You guys should definitely come. You also want to, number 4, update your online resume. So your LinkedIn, you want to update it. If you have a new experience, let's say you got a new job, if you update your resume, you want to update your LinkedIn. Same thing, you want to update your LinkedIn, you want to update your resume. Fill the headers and complete as much as possible. So the headers that are on LinkedIn already, the ones that we talked about, the ones that are on our worksheet. So courses, volunteer experience and causes, organizations, honors and awards. Complete as much of that as you can. 6, avoid leaving spaces blank. That kind of goes back to number 5. Complete as much as you can. Follow professional organizations. So if I'm a marketing major, I would probably try to follow the American Marketing Association on LinkedIn, right? So I'd find out what are the current trends in the industry, what webinars could I attend, what professionals are in those organizations. Number 8, build connections. Going back to those professionals that are in the American Marketing Association that I just joined the group on LinkedIn. I'm going to try to connect with those people. Also, you can search jobs and follow companies on LinkedIn. We just talked about that. And then number 10, schedule a critique. Come see Haley or I. We'd be happy to look over your LinkedIn and give you some tips about things that you might want to change, or what you want to add, the placement of what you have on your LinkedIn, much like your resume. The most important things would be first. So if you need help, resume critique, cover letter critique, mock interview, come see us across the hall. This is our contact information and our names, and also links to our LinkedIn profiles. Does anybody have any questions for us? No? All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to us and participating. Have a good day.